Hi, friends. This is Dr. Arpita Gupta Dipalma, and you're listening to my podcast, From Pissed Off to Poised. This show is for busy women physicians and professionals just like you who are ready to take control of their emotions while learning how to excel in juggling all the things they are responsible for in life. It's for overextended mamas who are trying to figure out how to work smarter, not harder. It's for multitasking women who are tired of playing the role of the angry and resentful air traffic controller, who simply want to learn how to create a life that is more calm, intentional, and joyful for themselves. My goal is to help you learn how to eliminate the overwhelm and maintain your composure in high-stress situations that you face with the demands in your day-to-day life. Because I get you guys, this was totally me. You are not alone. I invite you to embark on your journey of transformation with me. Enjoy the listen. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of From Pissed Off to Poised. I am super excited today to have my guest and friend, Dr. Sarah Smith, on the show. I met Sarah, actually, she probably doesn't know that I met her then, when I was in my group coaching program, and she came on as a guest speaker and got to hear her amazing tips and tools for how we as physicians can stop taking charting home. And so that was my first exposure to her, and it was just amazing, actionable nuggets and tools that we could use. And so I thought, what better than to have her come on and not just talk about charting, but in essence, all efficiency. How can we not take work home as badass women professionals and physicians? So welcome, Sarah. I'm going to let her introduce herself, as I always do, because I think you do the best about talking about yourself. So hi, Sarah. How are you?
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I am well, actually. And I love your podcast title, Pissed Off to Poised, because that was truly where I started and began this journey of becoming someone who helps efficiency within the clinical day. It was 15 years of, will I ever figure this out? Will I ever be able to get out of the office on time to get home for that agreed time that we would have dinner with our children? Will I ever be able to not work a weekend or have this lingering over me? And that journey to, oh, it's possible. I can have a work day and go home and create for myself time. I always had that thought, I don't have enough time.
Yeah.
Then that ability to create time. So me in my world, I'm a family doctor. I work rural and I also do hospitalist and emergency department. So we can cover any area of medicine in terms of that clinical day efficiency. But that is what I love to do. I love to help all the physicians, clinicians, or even others who aren't, just create that change, that ability to look at their clinical day and say, how could I create different? If my, workplace stays the same, my staff stays the same, my computer programs stay the same, but I change.
Mm-hmm. So good. I mean, and that's what it is. It all boils down to us making changes that we can honor and keep it in a way where it's sustainable, we don't fall off. So I guess I want to dive in with if somebody from the get-go, they're listening to this and they're feeling very overwhelmed with their to-do list, both professional and personal. What's the first step that you would recommend to begin to start taking control?
Yeah, it's the big step back. So it is the look at the work of the day from a different lens. So take yourself on a walk during a shower, be in a space where you're not in the busyness of your day. When you start to evaluate why am I getting the result that I'm getting every day routinely? So that could be, I noticed that when I leave the office, I have only 10% of my charts done, or I still have 100 things in my inbox, or I notice that I get X number of things coming in each day and it takes me about this long. It's the noticing. So just taking a moment to notice, what is it that's happening day after day after day after day? What are you saying yes to over and over and over that then creates less space for the other parts of your day that need to happen? So you could even inventory, what do I need to achieve in a day? 18 patients, 50 things in my inbox, 20 my chart messages, how many interruptions in a day. You could inventory it just to have a look at the math and then the drama. How am I feeling about my day? Am I enjoying this? What are my top 3 feelings that I'm having about my day in my workplace? It could be at home as well. And then what would I like to create?
Yeah.
If I had a magic wand, what would it look like to do this math in a way that, what am I desiring? So for me, I desired to be home with everything done. That was my first thought about what do I want. And then that's easy. I just stay there till midnight. I can go home with everything done. Is that truly what I want? No.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got to put some more rules around this. Well, I want to leave the office within 10 minutes of the last patient with everything done.
Yeah.
Oof. Now
Yeah.
that is a challenge. That is completely impossible where I was at the beginning.
Mhm.
But that is what I truly, if I kind of really looked at what do I want? I want to have a job. I want this to end. 10 minutes after the last patient, I walk out and I don't do anything else until I come back the next day. That's it. That's what I wanted. For me, that was my personal mission to do about my clinical day.
Yeah.
And it sounds impossible. I know, because if you're in the overwhelm of that, that's impossible. She doesn't understand what's going on in my day. I totally get you.
Yeah.
And we've had this level of transformation in all areas of medicine. That could be hem-oncologists, psychiatrists, rheumatologists, pulmonologists, family doctors, emergency department physicians getting home 6 hours earlier than they did before. Like, we know this can happen if you want it.
Yeah. And I think, like you mentioned, like, and when you started touching on this, is that it is so important to pause and reflect and look. And I think what happens is we're all stuck on this like hamster wheel that we feel like we don't even have a moment to pause, to stop, to reflect.
Mhm.
Have to keep going. And when we do that, we're actually digging ourselves further into these holes where we're getting more and more stuck and we can't make that change. So you almost have to force yourself into saying, okay, no, hard stop. And honestly, for me, that's what happened with COVID. COVID was the no, hard stop. Everything is shutting down. And I have a moment now to actually think about it. So I'm not saying we want another COVID, God forbid. But what I am saying is you really have to be intentional about saying, okay, take a day, take half a day and say that whole purpose of this is to reflect on where is my time going. And as you're mentioning, for physicians, it's super important because now with all of the documentation and guidelines and all the MIPS and MACRA and all the crap, it's even
Mhm.
more and more bureaucratic admin junk. But I am sure this trickles into multiple fields where lawyers, engineers, with mathematicians, any like vendors that we work with, everybody's amount of paperwork and documentation seems to have increased so much, which piles onto our workload. So, what are we going to do intentionally with setting the boundaries of what we're going to do and how long we're going to spend? And then also make it in a way that's sustainable. So, I think like, and when we talked about it, you were saying that there's definite like routine that we get stuck into and we don't
Mhm.
even take that minute to pause. But when you do, and you've worked with people with making these shifts, have you ever noticed that there are unique factors that influence their productivity in both their career and personal lives? And like, how do we pick up on these unique factors?
Yeah. So knowing yourself and how well you work and what you really get distracted by is clearly going to make a difference with how you work through your day. So I'll have people come in and say, I just know I talk too much. Okay, fine. However, don't believe that about yourself. Have a look at why. Well, we know about the human. The human loves pleasure, hates pain, and does things efficiently, which means loves pleasure. Talking to someone else is much more pleasurable than doing the paperwork around this consultation.
Yeah.
And what we do on the routine, whether it's good for us or not, because that is the easiest, most energy efficient way that our human brain, this very ancient human brain, works. Creating a new way of doing things is energy taxing. It takes effort. It's another thing to add to your day, everybody. So if you're about to make big changes, just know it's going to tire you out more. It's going to be unfamiliar. So it's going to feel clunky. You're going to feel like you're failing at doing it. And that's part of the progress of change. So when you talk too much, is it because the only way I can make a connection with this human is to spend time? Ah, interesting. That's just a sentence in your head that we can start to be curious about. It could be, I really don't want to do the paperwork. So if I just stay talking a bit long, then I won't have time and I'll have to move on to the next patient. Ah, interesting. What you're doing now is saying, hey, 5 p.m. self, why don't you take care of that? And I'll just sit here chatting for a bit longer. So it's the what do I do on my regular? What do I think that means about myself? And is that really true? It could be I need peace and quiet to do my charting or to do my reports. There's no way I could do that within a busy office environment. Interesting. Again, that's just a sentence that you've taught about yourself. Absolutely, it's easier to do that deep think work where there's less interruption. However, telling yourself over and over for years and years that the only time I can do this is at 10 o'clock tonight when the kids are finally asleep and the husband's also snoring and I now get back out of the bed and go in front of the computer. Yeah, this was my lived experience. But my brain is tired and I'm getting more and more tired, which means the next day is so much harder to concentrate and do that work. So I'm creating this perpetual cycle.
Yeah.
So then, okay, I know that I need dedicated space to do the deep think and pull this all together. But here's the environment that I work in. Where could I do this work if I know this about myself? Who do I need to talk to create some space so I can get this deep think work done? So I've had physicians learn to close their office door when they're in that space of having their own space, which is wonderful. Not everybody gets that. I've had them use a janitor's closet. Like they come up with this idea themselves. That is the quietest place and no one finds me.
Mhm.
I've had them find great big purple headphones to put on that tells everybody it's a no.
Yeah.
I'm doing deep think work. So it is, what can I do creatively to help me in this moment get what I need?
Yeah. So good. And it's true. It's like it's noticing where is the problem area or where is the kind of crutch that you're in, and then working backwards to solve for it, to unwind it in a way that serves. Yeah. So, well, good.
Now,
Well,
there are things about our day that need really that high level work. Okay, we're the executive decision makers for our patients. If we're in that physician or clinician part of the world where you are the decision maker for your patient. So there are things about, for instance, your in-basket. So if you are doing in-basket work, you need some protected time so you can do that deep think. And we know about the humans that you will run out of executive function juice through the day as you get wound down by thousands of decisions. So you may not feel like a morning person, but your brain is still most likely to be less fatigued in the morning or when it's given some space. And so just knowing that also can help you then factor in, even though you may not be given dedicated time for these heavy task loads, you might also then remember your physiology and say, okay, how can I take advantage of my executive function? How can I feed nutrition and water, hydrate my brain? Where can I do this work so I can do it in a way that I can get that deep think and executive decision without the fatigue?
totally. Are there like your kind of go-to strategies that anybody could implement? Like one of my favorite strategies is with my inbox. Like I will not mark it as unread if I didn't actually execute it. So what I do is I will go through and I have a set amount of time to get through some emails. I work through them and I finish it beginning to end. And if for whatever reason I can't, I mark it as unread. And then, there's so many different little strategies that people use to help them. What are some of yours that you really love that, clinician or not, would be super, super helpful and potentially game changing for how fast we get through things?
So Physician Day kind of works well for this because you'll kind of identify with it, whatever space you're in. But if you come out of a room after having seen a patient and you've got now two choices or three choices, you can finish up the work that just happened in that room. You could open the in-basket, have a look at how many things are waiting for your attention, open the first one, look at it, realize you don't have time for that right now because that requires a phone call to the patient because that's something, a little bit unexpected. So you close it again. Or the third thing you could do is just jump into the next room because there's a patient waiting, right? And so typically we end a patient encounter and we go have a sticky beak in the in-basket. We open the first thing, have a look, can't do that right now, don't have time, close it. What do we do instead? Open the next one. Have a look at that too. Still don't have time for that either. Close it again. So now we're doing work twice. Plus we've delayed the work of the last encounter to 5 p.m., right? Because when are you going to do it now? Because now you've just spent 4 minutes just sticky beaking in the in-basket. Open, close, open, close, open, close. So now the question is, when do I have time to do that so that I can say yes to that? So I'm going to open that up, realize that it is not as expected. I need to now communicate that with the patient. How am I going to do that? Will I message my nurse? Will I do it myself? Will I bring them in? There's decisions to be made on a decision tree. And then that task is completed. We move to the next task. So it's finding the space to say, when will I be able to say yes to that task?
Hmm.
So if I don't have 5 minutes right now, don't even open the first one. Or choose, what would I say yes to? If my phone rang, who would I say yes to? And who am I going to, say, just leave a message? So it's that ability to create less of the doing work twice in a way that helps you. And then everything where you open it up and you pause, you're like, how am I going to do that? When am I going to do that? What does it take to get that message to that patient? Every time you pause, that is an opportunity to say, how could I do this in the fastest way? Because you're going to see this type of thing come into your in basket or your to-do list over and over again. And if every time you see that, it sits there for 3 weeks trying to decide you've now looked at it multiple times in that time, dozens of times. You've looked at it going, how do I deal with that? How do I deal with that? Make it stop and make a decision. How am I going to deal with this?
Hmm.
Once you learn how to get it out of your in basket or off your to-do list, remember it and use it then within seconds of seeing it next time.
Yeah.
One of these for me in the to-do list was me messaging myself. Okay, so here's an example. CT scans due for this patient. That was the message I gave to myself that I wrote 9 months ago. So now what does that mean? Well, I don't know what CTs do, and I don't know what thing we're tracking. I have to open the chart and go digging, eventually find the thing that needs repeating was on the ultrasound report.
Mm.
So I can create the CT report requisition so that the CT can be done. That was an 8-minute dig. I don't have 8 minutes per thing in my in basket. I just simply don't. If it has to be me, which it did initially until I could start to onboard some team members to help me, I needed to leave myself a much clearer message. CT is due and the requisition is done in draft, ready for you to send. Ah,
Yeah.
that was now 30 seconds
Yeah. Yeah.
as opposed to 8-minute dig. So there are ways that you are being your own problem
Hmm.
sometimes about our day, unfortunately. Yeah, so there's some of the highlights. One of the other examples now, since COVID, we got these, and some of the physicians may have been having these before. You know how you can message your doctor with hey, I've got this new rash. Okay, the doctors roll their eyes because they can't see your rash. They don't know how urgent the rash is. You really need to be seen when it's a seeing problem. However, you can send these lovely little messages. Now, the physician on the other end is getting 100 of them. So when you get annoyed, pissed off because they're not answering you in 5 minutes, don't worry. They're doing the other 100 as well. Next, they're not necessarily getting paid for this work. So now we've got two different styles. The first physician number one, who spends an entire page describing each of the types of rashes this might be and how to deal with it, to the effect of 8 minutes, 4 minutes, 2 minutes, versus the other one who may have either one, a team member in front of her who looks at that in basket and says, well, we can't look at a rash on an email, come in. We'll see you here or there. Here's your appointment time. Or two, the physician who says, I'll need to see that. Here's a time or reception will give you a call. Okay. So one has taken 8 minutes and we're not sure we got the correct diagnosis, the correct plan, or the correct management. And the other one where, okay, this absolutely needs this or that. Come on in. We'll have a look at it. So both of those approaches, totally fine. You're the boss of you. You get to do what you like. One is going to cost you a lot of time, a lot of energy, and you're going to be very unsatisfied. The other one, as fast as possible.
What about like going on vacation? I know many people don't go on vacation because of the dread of having to come back to the workload, the pile. And I know
100%.
one thing for me, I have now definitely put the out of office notification because, quite frankly, if it's urgent, there are people that I'm directing you to handle it. But if it's not, you're just going to know that I'm not here. And that's why I'm not responding. But that's
Mm-hmm.
doesn't necessarily keep things from piling up.
Mm-hmm.
So, what tips can you offer for people when they, A, have not been going on vacation because they don't want to deal with this when they come back? And B, if they have, but then they dread life for the first week or so after they do return.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't that so disheartening when you go on holiday? And in fact, the going on holiday is such a massive amount of work because if you've got this massive pile to empty before you go, you're already exhausted. I know working through the night all the way till we had to leave for the airport. I know that well, and that is not the fun part. Okay, so you're already exhausted before you leave. Then you go on holiday and you're either doing one of two things. You're working while you're away or you're dreading coming back or both.
Yeah.
Now that it's electronic, you don't actually have to drag charts with you, but we've certainly had physicians in the past dragging charts along to their holiday so they could actually get the work done, which is just like unbelievable. But now you can access it from anywhere because you are 100% 24/7 available, right, with technology, unless you're going to go hiking somewhere off grid. So here's the thing. All of you are replaceable. Now, you may not want to hear that, but that is a wonderful thing. You are 100% replaceable. If you fell off the earth, if you won lotto and decided you could go and buy yourself a mansion in the middle of nowhere with no Wi-Fi, you could. And guess what? Somebody else, something else would replace you. So take that to your advantage and start looking now for holiday solutions because you are a human with physiology. You need rest. Rest is so valuable to you being sustainable within whatever space you're in. Rest in the evening, rest on the weekends, rest in big lumps called holidays or whatever that sounds like to you. So plan for, if possible, to really hone this skill, a holiday that is completely without internet, because that's going to absolutely cut you off. Now, that's going to feel for a lot of you very impossible and anxiety provoking, and that's okay. Maybe that's in 2 years' time or 3 years' time, but practice now. Here's what it looks like. Even a solo doctor can find another solo doctor to do some confidentiality agreements and some inbox coverage. You're all replaceable. So buddy up. Who will you do this for and who will do it for you? What are your rules? So when you come back from holiday, what do you want to look at? So one of my colleagues wants to look at all the letters that came back from the consultants while he was away. Me, I prefer completely empty. Thank you very much. I'll handle it when they walk in the room. Then we hand over. I say to them, okay, I'm leaving on this date, coming back this date. Can you handle my in-basket messages, anything that comes in while I'm away? Here's some of the things to watch out for, maybe patients I'm concerned about or things I'm waiting on that you might need to go look for if they don't turn up. But mostly, I trust you do your best, and then they do the same for me. Okay, so while we're away, we come back to empty in baskets or a couple of messages from that person about a particular patient for me to follow up on. Sure, no problem at all. Very happy to do that. But at the same time, the colleague who's looking after my in-basket also has dedicated spots where he can tell the reception staff, this one needs to come back and see Sarah, come back and see Sarah, come back and see Sarah, so that all those patients are booked in to see me. Then return day. You know, there's a subset of patients that have been waiting the entire 4 weeks you've been away. You're like, 4 weeks on holiday? Yes, please. Do the whole 4 weeks. They've been waiting the whole 4 weeks and they're going to ring up on the Monday you return. So here is a strategy. And this is not something I made up. This is something that is part of good patient management tools. So this is something that we have within the patient medical home training. You can go look up patient medical home, see what that means, see some of the things that they suggest for looking after your patient panel or patient population well. So the week that you return, let's go the 2 weeks of your return is completely blank, no patients in there at all when you go on holidays. So you go on holidays for 4 weeks, and with the 2 weeks you return, there's no patients booked in. Then, as you go on holidays, they can start to book only 50% of the appointments. So maybe the mornings are pre-booked while you're away. And that includes for your colleague putting patients in, who he's seeing your in-basket, he's saying, yeah, bring them back, bring them back, bring them back. The day you return, all of those afternoon slots open up. What does that do? It means those 200 patients that ring Monday morning, it's a yes, see you at 2:30. Yes, see you at 3. Yes, see you at 3. Whatever it looks like. The front staff's delighted. You're delighted. Day one back, and you're not just seeing people who've been waiting 6 weeks to see you. You're seeing same day problems that have been waiting 4 weeks to see you.
Yeah, yeah.
You're seeing a little bit of happy and a little bit of busy, but it's not the, oh, I'm fully booked for the next how many weeks, and I've got all these urgent things to double book, and I'm going to say yes to them because I always do. So
Yeah.
now I've got zero room to do anything else, and you're just running crazy all day. Like, make it delightful. Go and chat to your employer and say, this is a problem that we need to solve. Here's how I'd like to do it, and start talking to them about holiday management
Right.
and return management.
Yeah. And that is so important and that's very powerful. I don't know how many people get 4 weeks off. I think there are definitely probably some, but 1 to 2 weeks. I actually just booked a trip with my daughter. Something got like messed up with our scheduling. And for logistics reasons, I said, okay, you know what? I'm just going to add another 4 days so she's not by herself. And that puts me out for 2 weeks. And I realized, oh my gosh, I can do this. It is very much so feasible. The appointments that I have in those additional days, I can shift them now. I can make sure there's room in my schedule for after I return for people to continue to come in. And I'm still getting to do exactly what I want. I think one of the other things that I've always done after I come back from vacations, now I've never been gone for more than a week and a half, but when I am gone, I always make sure that the day or two afterwards has absolutely nothing in it, like no scheduled meetings, no scheduled appointments. I use that time to catch up and catch up on the email,
Mhm.
on laundry, catch up on tasks around the house, things that have happened, because part of this is recognizing that that is all work. That is all part of your day-to-day life. And so if we think that we can just come back to a full schedule the way it usually is and tack all the other stuff that's piled up on top of it, we might as well not go. And that's why many of us don't go, right? So it's almost like you have to build that buffer in advance so that when
Yeah.
you come back, it's not so painful.
Yeah, yeah. You could even look at getting a substitute in to handle if locums are available to you. That I provide some of the locuming holiday coverage for local physicians here where I live now, so they can have a whole month off
Yeah.
and just enjoy it. And this is part of the rest and restoration that's required. And I encourage you to go and have a month because what happens is the first week you're still trying to chill from the whole go, 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 stop. And
Yeah.
it's very like, what? And so
Yeah.
it takes you a lot to calm down. And then you can actually start to enjoy yourself. And then you start to get bored, which is really fun because it's an unexpected emotion.
And it lets you actually start to get creative when you're bored,
Yeah.
be present with why am I bored? So good
Yeah. So
luck.
go have yourself a nice long holiday.
That's what Dr. Smith is telling all of us is that we all need to take at least a month off and then we can start to scale up from there. So I really enjoyed this talk with you, and I think you've given us so many good little tidbits and nuggets for how to maybe make some shifts. I want to maybe close with just asking if you have any specific tools or systems or anything that you just simply love that's easily implementable. And if somebody's going to start, this is what you do type of thing, have at it. Tell me those things that people can start doing right away.
Yeah, I think just pausing to notice. So you could say, for instance, you have a moment in your day, and I notice that I'm always half an hour behind by 11:30. Just the noticing and saying, I wonder why. So not the, oh, I've done it again. I'm terrible at this. It's the, I wonder why. And just the stepping back and saying, oh yeah, our first patient's here, but by the time I see them, it's 10 minutes late. And then I notice that I'm spending a few minutes between patients looking at that in basket quickly, and it's all cumulative effect. So that's one of the tools is the pause and notice without that judgment, but just I wonder why. Just ask that question. I wonder why. And then what do I want? And what do I need to be successful in my day? Because it's really hard to answer that question. But if you're suffering in your day, I want you to chat out loud, whether it be with a coach, a colleague, or a friend, or a spouse, or just to yourself. Talk out loud your day because sometimes that bouncing off another human, you'll get different perspective or you'll actually find some of the solutions as you talk it out loud. So sometimes being in our own head and rumbling around in the shame of I still can't do this well does not help. As we talk out loud, people can start to say, oh, I could help you with that. Or have you tried this? You're like, oh, or you think you're the only one suffering. So if you go to your colleague and say, this is what I struggle with, blah, 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 they might look at you and say, oh, you're odd. That's not your person. Go find a different person. I struggle with this. And they're like, oh, I used to struggle with that too. Or yeah, I struggle with that too. I wonder what we could do differently. So that is an important step towards one, vulnerability of I'm struggling, two, what do I need to ask for to help me? What am I looking for that could start to create different about my day? And then three, the looking at what do I open and close, open and close, open and close. I'm doing work twice, or I'm delaying that because it's uncomfortable now. And if I really wanted it done, how or where could I do that to start shifting that a little bit so it's not all on 5 p.m. me?
So good. There's so many nuggets. And I catch myself with that email thing. Oh, I don't want to do it. And it's not necessarily that I don't even have the time. It's just that I don't feel like doing it. So kind of being onto yourself, if that's what it is, and then figuring out, hey, do I really have to do it? Is this something I can give to somebody else to do? If I have to do it, how do I make it better? So I actually just suck it up and get it done. So there's
Mhm.
so many different ways to look at it. But the first step, like you said, is just noticing. So
Mhm.
well, thank
Yeah.
you, Sarah. It has been a pure joy and pleasure to have you on the show. Tell the audience how they can learn more about you and what you do. And if they want to reach out, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. I have a podcast called Sustainable Clinical Medicine where you can hear me talk to other guests about how we create sustainability in our clinical day. I have a lifetime membership for physicians called Charting Champions and a lifetime membership for clinicians called Smarter Charting. And you find both of them at chartingcoach.ca.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you again for joining me today. And I appreciate all of your nuggets and all of your wisdom. And I am going to come see you soon, sometime in Australia. It's on my list.
Sounds wonderful. Wonderful. Have a great day. Thanks.
Take care. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of From Pissed Off to Poised. Remember, transformation is a journey, not a destination. So enjoy the ride. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review From Pissed Off to Poised on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback supports my mission to get this podcast out to help other women physicians and professionals like you on their path to creating a more peaceful life with more intention and more joy. I enjoy reading every message I get with your input and feedback on my journey, so keep them coming. And if you have a friend who might enjoy the listen, please share this episode and show with them. Lastly, if you want to learn more about my coaching programs and course offerings, check out my website at www.thoughtworkmd.com. Feel free to reach out to me to learn more about investing in yourself through one-to-one coaching so you can start living the life you've always wanted. This show is for general educational and entertainment purposes only. Life coaching is not a substitute for therapy or medical treatment.